This video is going to show you how to deploy a test once you've made it. The assumption is that you follow the directions above and that you've already created a test in the test canvas. We want to deploy it because one, that'll put it out in a place where students can access it when you're ready for them to access it. And two, this will automatically create a column in the Grade Center. So the first step to deploying a test is deciding where you want it to reside or where you want it to live. As you can see, I have a content area called assessments, so I'm going to put it in there. You might want to make a special area where all your assessments are together, but maybe you've organized your course in a different way. That's okay. And when I click on assessments, as you can see, I already have some out there. When I hover over assessments, test is one of my options. So I'm going to choose test. And remember, I already made my test, so it's on this list. I always recommend you make the test first and then try to deploy it. Midterm exam, that's the one I want to go ahead and deploy. Now, if you've already deployed a test, it will not appear on this list, which is a nice thing because then you don't accidentally deploy it twice. You have two sets of grades in the Grade Center, and it's a real headache. So the nice thing is it's not going to be on this list next time I go to deploy a test. So go ahead and submit. And now we see our test options. And so this is where you're going to set kind of all the rules of what it's going to be like to take this test. You can write something here in content link description. In theory, I'm going to give this test in a lab. You don't have to do that. That's how I'm going to do it for the sake of this video. If you are giving the test in a lab, you want to make sure to select No to open test in the new window. I'm going to say yes to make link available. Even though I'm not ready for students to take it yet, if I keep it on no and then the time comes when I'm ready for the test to open, it still won't open. This is like a master switch. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes, but then I'm going to time and date and restrict it because I'm working ahead of time. Because I'm working ahead of time, I don't want to add a new announcement because the announcement's going to go up immediately. And I can decide how many attempts I want my students to get at the test, and below it I have the chance to choose how I want to score those attempts. Things like I want to just score the last attempt they took, or I want to keep the score of their highest attempt, whatever that may be. However, I'm only going to give my students one attempt on this test, so I'm not going to do anything here. Next is forced completion. That means once the test is open, it needs to be finished. I really recommend that you not select forced completion because if there's a glitch in the internet or the wireless flickers or anything like that, the student will be locked out of the test. That'll say, well, that was your attempt and it's over now. It just kind of creates a lot of headaches for you later. And now I can set a timer. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to give my students 60 minutes. You can give them however many you want. Then auto submit off or on. This just means what happens at the end of 60 minutes. If I keep auto submit on, the test will automatically come to me, regardless of where the student is within the test. If I turn auto submit off, that just means that the student can keep working on the test, but it'll get flagged, like, well, it's taken longer than 60 minutes. And now I'm going to set up the time and dates that I want this to display. A lot of times people will ask us in iLearn, well, what's the right amount of time or what's a good amount of time? And honestly, there are all kinds of theories about that. And I always recommend people ask around to their colleagues and see what they're doing. However, I find that a 2 to 3 day window is a really good window. At least a Monday and a Tuesday or a Wednesday and a Thursday, something like that. That way, the students definitely can't say, well, I had class all day and I couldn't come because it's impossible to have class all day each day. Another thing is sometimes people will have the test end on a Sunday, which is okay to do, but then if there are any last minute questions and you're not checking your email on the weekend, it kind of just becomes a little hairy. So it's really up to you. If you want students to go to the lab, do not put a password here. Respondus Lockdown Browser will fill in a password. Don't worry about it. You just want to go ahead and leave it alone, and definitely don't give it out to students. If you have any test exceptions, which we will talk about later in the course, you add them here. And finally, if you want to, you can set a due date. This would be good if you want students to be able to review the test after it's over. You would want to set a due date, keep it available, and then do not allow students to start the test if the due date has passed. That way they can still get in and take the test, but at the same time, they can get in and see the test, but they can't take the test over again. Usually these default options are fine. However, right here, this is a change. As of December of 2014, this changed. Now, the students can see the question after the test is over. They can go back and look in their grade center and see each question, what they got right and wrong. If you don't want to do that, because I know a lot of instructors like to keep those questions private, just uncheck this box. And now they'll see their score in the grade center, but they won't see each question displayed. And down here we have test presentation. How are we going to present the test? You could present it all at once if you want to. That means it's the entire screen, and that's just like if you handed out a paper test. That's what it would look like. You could also do one at a time, where you click through each question. Another option is to prohibit backtracking if you set it to one at a time. Once they answer, they're committed to that answer. I really discourage people from doing this, simply because your instinct when you want to go back is to click the back button at the top of the browser, not the back and forth buttons they provide you. If you prohibit backtracking, they won't have a back button on their question. If they do the back button on the browser, it will kick them out of the test completely. It will just say, like, that's the end of your attempt, you're done. So I don't recommend that. And finally, randomize questions. You can randomize the questions for each attempt so each student gets questions in a different order. When you're ready and satisfied with all your changes, go ahead and click Submit. And now, go to the bottom. My test is deployed. It's not available yet. To get students to take the test in the lab, I have to do one more step, and that's turn on Lockdown Browser. And I will show you how to do that in the next video.